Imagination creates reality. You've probably heard this phrase. But what did Neville Goddard, the visionary mystic and teacher of conscious creation, truly mean by it? He once declared, "There is no fiction. Every imagined act, if persisted in, will harden into fact." These weren't the words of a dreamer, but a profound truth about the very nature of our existence. To Neville, imagination wasn't about escaping into fantasy. It was the creative force of life itself. The world you experience, the good and the bad, isn't shaped by luck or circumstance alone. It's molded by the images and feelings you consistently entertain within your own mind. So, what is imagination really? For most of us, it's child's play, a space for stories and make-believe. But Neville saw it as the doorway to divine creation. It's through our imagination that we form mental scenes, and by holding on to that inner vision, those scenes become our lived reality. He famously stated, "Man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us, and we in him." This means imagination isn't just a tool you use occasionally, it's your very being. Every thought you hold, every inner conversation you rehearse, every vision you feel to be true, these are the seeds from which your reality grows. Think of it this way. The world is your mirror. It can only reflect what's already inside of you. If you constantly dwell on problems, anxieties, and lack, your world will show you more of the same. But if you begin to imagine peace, abundance, and love, and persist in that feeling, your world has no choice but to start reflecting it. As Neville said, change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Creation, according to Neville, isn't something that happens out there. It begins within. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're watching this on, the building you're in. Everything began as an image in someone's mind. Imagination is the first cause. The physical world is merely the shadow it casts. This means you don't need to struggle or force things to happen. You only need to go to the end, to imagine your desire fulfilled and live from that state of being. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking. This is deliberate, intentional use of your creative power. It's about selecting a desired outcome and mentally stepping into that reality, not as a distant hope, but as a present fact. But how do you bridge the gap between imagination and reality? The secret, Neville taught, is feeling. He constantly reminded his students, "It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true." Feeling is the key. When you imagine, you must feel the scene as if it were real, right now. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between an imagined experience and an actual one when genuine feeling is involved. What you emotionally accept becomes your truth. So, to imagine effectively. First, get into a relaxed, drowsy state. Second, create a short, simple scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. Don't imagine getting it, imagine having it. Third, see it, hear it, and most importantly, feel it. What would it feel like? Relief? Joy? Gratitude? And finally, repeat this process until it feels completely natural. This is how you impress the subconscious mind, and what is impressed must be expressed. Remember, every single act of imagination matters. You are always imagining, whether you're aware of it or not. You're shaping your world with every inner conversation, every mental picture, every assumption you hold. This is why Neville urged us to be mindful of our imagination. Don't leave it to chance. Take control of your inner world. Assume the best. Imagine lovingly for yourself and for others. Create deliberately. As he said, dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part relative to its fulfillment. Neville often shared incredible stories of people who use this power to transform their lives. A man who desperately wanted his own business imagined himself sitting at his desk, managing his successful company every single night. Within months, the perfect opportunity appeared seemingly out of nowhere. A woman who was estranged from her sister imagined them laughing together again. Soon after, her sister called, and they reconciled. Neville himself imagined his honorable discharge from the army when there seemed to be no way out. He felt it as done, and the events unfolded exactly as he had envisioned. These weren't just lucky breaks. They were the natural fulfillment of imagined truths. Here's the thing. You don't need permission to imagine. You're already doing it, all day, every day. You're constantly picturing outcomes, rehearsing conversations, and reacting to scenes in your mind. The real question isn't, are you imagining? The real question is, are you imagining consciously? The difference between living by default and living by design lies in this awareness. When you grab the reins of your imagination and direct it with purpose, you stop being a passive reactor to life and become a conscious creator. It's also important to understand the difference between idle daydreaming and controlled imagination. Daydreaming is passive. It wanders and drifts, often reflecting wishful thinking without any real conviction or focus. It might feel nice for a moment, but it doesn't have the power to create, because it's not sustained or accepted as true. Controlled imagination, on the other hand, is a deliberate act. It's consciously choosing your desired outcome, stepping into that scene with feeling, and returning to it again and again until it becomes your natural state of being. It's your imagination, but it's harnessed by belief and fueled by emotion. So many of us drift through life imagining the worst-case scenarios, replaying old arguments, and feeding our doubts and fears. And guess what? The world obliges by reflecting it all back to us. But what if you were to pause right now and choose the images you hold in your mind? What if you decided to feel the reality of your wish fulfilled? The world would have no choice but to conform. It's time to claim that power, not with force or effort, but with quiet, inner confidence. Let's dive into some common questions. First, what does imagination creates reality really mean? It's literal. Your imagination is the creative power of the universe expressing through you. What you imagine and emotionally accept as true will eventually harden into fact in your physical world. Second, how is this different from daydreaming? Daydreaming is passive and lacks conviction. Conscious imagination is an active, deliberate creation fueled by belief and feeling. The key is to feel your wish fulfilled until that feeling becomes your natural state. So, how do you feel it real? Start by getting into a relaxed, sleepy state. Then, imagine a short, vivid scene that implies your desire is already a fact. Feel the joy, the peace, the relief of having it now. The more real it feels inside, the faster it will manifest outside. How long does it take? There's no fixed timeline. It depends on your faith and your ability to remain in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. As Neville said, persist in your assumption, and it will manifest at the perfect time. What if you imagine something negative by accident? Don't panic. The creative power responds to what you persistently and emotionally dwell on. A single fleeting negative thought has very little power. Just gently redirect your focus back to your desired reality. Can imagination change other people or events? Yes, but not by controlling them. When you change your inner conception of a person or a situation, their reflection in your world must change. As you change your concept of yourself, your whole world rearranges itself to match. How can you practice this daily? Use small moments, just before sleep, upon waking, or during a quiet break. Take a minute to close your eyes and feel the reality you desire. Consistency is more important than intensity. Over time, you'll see the undeniable link between your inner world and your outer results. So, as we wrap this up, remember this: the world responds not to what you want, but to who you are being on the inside. When you choose to imagine with purpose, to feel your desired reality as already true, the outer world must mirror that inner change. So, imagine wisely, imagine with love, and imagine with faith. Because your imagination truly does create your reality. As Neville said, all things exist in the human imagination, and everything you can imagine is real. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content on creating the life you desire. Until next time, assume the best.